Welcome to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke, and today's guest is Corbin Chase. She is a psychic, spiritual healer, medical intuitive, and host of the Spiritual Health Expert podcast. Her work as a medical intuitive combines several modalities to help her clients achieve holistic health. In this episode, we'll discuss some of those modalities as well as spiritual hypnotherapy. Corbin, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Johnny. Happy to be here.
So you have several modalities that you're obviously very well versed in: psychic ability, medical intuitive, a spiritual healer. Which one of those came first?
The spiritual gifts came first, and the modalities and certifications came second. It was really I know things are going to happen. I feel what other people feel. And then I wanted to become more robust in the area of holistic and spiritual health. Then came the yoga training and the hypnotherapy training and all the other certifications.
The psychic ability, that came early on, like when you were a kid, or was it later than that?
It was when I was a kid. My most profound psychic spiritual gift is my ability to feel what other people feel. So that came through since I was just a little kiddo, but I had no idea what it was at the time. And then it was, I can see the future. I can understand people's life circumstances and how that affects their health. And it really started to build from there. Probably in my early 20s is when it really started taking off.
So you can see the future?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me who's going to win the Knicks game tonight?
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. Not that I'm going to bet on it, but I thought, wow. So with that ability, did that give way to other abilities as well, like clairvoyance, things like that?
Yeah. So I have clairsentience, so I can feel what other people feel very profoundly in my body, and I can get very specific with it. So I'll look at someone's chakra and say, what is their heart saying through how the heart feels? What is their root chakra saying through how the root chakra feels? And when I put those together, what is the message? And that helps me really get to the root cause of health issues. From there, I realized I had claircognizance, which is a knowing. When someone wants to know something and I'm in the zone, the answer just pops in. From there, I learned I had clairalience, which is smell. So I can take like a psychic breath of fresh air around someone and know whether or not a diagnosis is working, or if they're ill or not, or if it smells like a specific cancer, or if there might be vomit involved. And then from there, I have a more rare gift of holism, where I can see someone's life from start to finish and their lives between their lives, kind of like all in one. So I really get an encompassing view of what that person is all about, like truly the bigger picture of who you are, the spirit versus the soul versus the personality, and how everything you have going on fits into the whole picture of who you are and what you're trying to do. And then there's a psychic clarity, so it comes in pretty sharp. I have energy manipulation. I'm also a Reiki master and teacher, but I see those as almost something different. I have a very intuitive sense of how energy works and that feeling in my hands. And then lastly, I have another rare gift of psychometry, which is reading inanimate objects. All of the jewelry I buy is vintage because I can feel who wore it last and kind of like the life before whoever had it. If I have a client, for example, and I'm not quite getting a lot from their chakras, I'll look at their phone or I'll look at their shoes and I'll see what energy I can pick up from that.
Okay, so that's psychometry. So you can pick up a piece of vintage jewelry and get a vibe of who wore it last?
Who wore it last, kind of what the deal was. Was there a relationship? Were they happy, sad, old? Did a dog really like this particular piece of furniture?
Did any of these gifts ever feel like a burden at any point?
No, if anything, I started off as a skeptic. Even though it was already built in, I was like, this seems kind of ridiculous. So I had to go through the hurdle of understanding what the bigger picture of spirituality and we are beyond what we are in these lives and the infinite wisdom that there is in the universe and how I'm part of that. That was the biggest hurdle. And ever since then, I've really enjoyed having the gifts. Recently, though, I will say that I've been learning how to be in charge of the gifts instead of the gifts being in charge of me. There is that control that needs to happen, or else my wheels would just be spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning.
One of the things I've noticed when I talk to people that are psychics and or mediums, because they're not mutually exclusive.
Correct.
I talked to one gentleman who had such psychic ability, he could walk into a crowded room, let's say it's like a party, and he couldn't turn it off. And it got to be too much, and he had to learn how to do that. Is that what you mean about controlling it instead of it controlling you?
Yes, yes. My soul, my spirit is in the driver's seat. The gift is like a package I decide to open along the way, and it is part of me. So it needs to integrate with my logic, my ego, my personality. And then once it's running well, I learn how it communicates with me. Then I can say, you know what? I am going to close this valve to 10% because I just want Corbin here right now. But if I have a client, all right, Corbin needs to be at 10% and the gift needs to be at 90. It's like a muscle. You take your gifts to the gym and you exercise them.
And yet there's actually like a dial where you can mix. It could be 50-50 or 10-90, like you say. That's good. Let's go back to the holism. This is something I've not heard a whole lot about. You can get a sense of someone's whole life from start to finish.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can you tell like when they're going to die, when they're going to pass, or is that not available?
It is available. And the way it comes through for me is people have multiple exit points throughout their lives. So you could hit one and not even know it. You could hit one and on a higher level, like an unconscious level, decide to take it or not. I work a lot with suicide for this reason. And I've had a lot of suicide experience within people close to me and my family. So I can see the exit points, and the buildup that happens before an exit point, whether you know it or not, is very interesting. And I help people navigate that time before and then after.
The suicide thing, very interesting. We're brought up, a lot of us, with Catholicism, Christianity, and all the different offshoots. And we're taught that if someone commits suicide, then they're in some god-awful place. Now, if you're able to see someone's life start to finish, including the in-between space, which we'll talk about very shortly, can you tell what typically happens to someone that takes that route?
Yeah. It's a tricky situation, and it's very different from a natural passing. When someone takes their life, often the soul that's left behind is confused for a while. And sometimes they're already to be in a place to have to be contemplating whether or not to keep your life. You're already seeing your world in black and white. So there really is no spirituality anymore. You just see it as black and white, ones and zeros, and that's it. So once you leave the body and cross over, sometimes they struggle to find their higher family, their higher self that comes to collect them. That's tricky for if there's a medium that's looking to help connect them to the higher realms. That's tricky. The important thing to remember here is that it's all still divine. This is happening for a reason because their soul is collecting information about what this experience is like. So in a way, they're earning their wisdom, and they are absolutely 100% always going to be okay in the end, no matter what.
Since you have this kind of vision, these kind of abilities like holism, where you can see the path they take, where they're going, and where it's going to basically spit them out on the other end, right? What is your take on those kind of dreams about people that we know, loved ones, friends, and that type of thing?
Well, for you specifically here, because you already are so enmeshed in the metaphysical, having this dream is a lesson presenting for you. They want you to explore the deeper dynamics of how spirits who pass over can come back and visit and still communicate quite simply and quite easily. What's happening with your friend here is it looks like he's finished his life review and he's coming back to let you know that he's in a better place. Like he was showing you what he was feeling at the time when he decided to leave. And now he's like, I have overcome, I've alchemized, I am more at peace. And I want you to know that my journey happening, he's saying, is still very real, is still like my life has continued. He says, I know that you know this about the experience of souls, but I'm giving you tangible, almost like evidence to show you I'm still alive in this sense.
Right. Okay. I've also heard people that have channeled and had those type of experiences. When they contact someone like that, they feel like they're more alive beyond the veil than they were in their human life. But what about someone who doesn't know anything about the metaphysical? If they don't believe in the afterlife or they're not sure, can they get the same message?
Yes, I would definitely say yes. I think that's quite a majority of people out there are either skeptical, don't have a strong spiritual foundation, or they're just so unsure or afraid of death. When death does present itself, it's just a lot of smoke. You're not really sure, and the grief really hits hard. So for someone who isn't spiritual and doesn't quite believe in the past lives and the lives between lives, what we all have is a heart. And the heart is energy. We know this is science. We all have a biosphere. We all have an energy field, and we are inherently connected to nature because the mother of our body is Earth. That connectedness, that is spiritual, but it's grounded and it's backed by science, but it can also be felt and experienced. So when you have dreams, everybody has dreams, and someone comes to visit you, that's real. If there's an emotional reaction, that makes it real for you, you know?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Great explanation. Love it. Really, really cool. Now, with the holism, you mentioned the in-between space, but before we get into that, I wanted to ask you about your experience studying with Brian Weiss.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you read his book first?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. What was that like? Talk about the stuff that you learned and you saw and witnessed. Maybe with your abilities, you actually experienced along with a client or that person that was the sitter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I want to get into all of it, but I actually pulled up a picture for you. This is me and Brian back in 2018.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
Okay, for those of you listening to the audio version, I'm definitely going to include this in the shorts.
Yeah. Very cool. Yep. I'll send it to you so we can share it out. But I did some training with him and his wife, Carol, back in 2018. And at the time I was early 20s. So I was figuring out my spirituality. This was a real learning curve for me in terms of getting me over the spiritual skepticism. To see a doctor up there teaching this and then seeing the results right on stage was incredible. And to see how Brian had integrated this level of spirituality after he'd been kind of like spit out of the Western medicine medical education system. But I needed that because I was in corporate America, and that's a very like masculine, non-spiritual. Yeah. So
anti-spiritual, really.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. When you saw this live, were you able to experience along with that person what they were experiencing, or were you just taking in the facts?
At the time, I didn't know that I was, but I very much was. There's a particular experience I have in mind that I'll paint a picture for real quick. So Brian Weiss did several demonstrations on the stage, and one of which was a past life regression. And I had never seen one before, and I wasn't really quite sure what to expect. And so he starts off by like looking at the room, and he's like, I'm going to do past life regression. And everyone raises their hands. And he's like, no, put your hands down. This is my process. My spiritual gifts will show me a dot of light over the person's head who's meant to come up here. It takes a couple of minutes, and he says, you. And this person is like, yes, he comes up onto the stage, and he had this profound experience where he was in a war and went through the death scene, and he facilitated the entire thing. And it looked so real. And what I didn't realize at the time, that my gifts were actually turning on, and I was seeing what this individual, this man, was seeing in his past life and kind of feeling what he was feeling. So by the end, I was sweating, and I had just thought like, wow, that's crazy. But really, it was the gifts activating. But it was really a very special experience, and he delivered the past life regression in a very calm, collected way that I haven't really seen since.
Well, he's a very interesting study because he stumbled upon this, not knowing anything about it. It was a female client. I can't remember her name, but he was asking her, so what do you see? And she was describing clothing that was not of this era. And he discovered that she was describing a life that was like thousands of years ago. Probably freaked him out a little bit, but the book he wrote, Many Lives, Many Masters, is obviously a classic. Going back to the holism, you mentioned the in-between space. Does the holism give you the same view, the same lens as actually going into the in-between space, or is it different?
It's similar. So my gifts work the best in terms of someone's health. My gifts are all health oriented, which is why I'm a medical intuitive. So that's why when you ask a question of who's going to win the sports game, it could work, but that's not really how my gifts like to come forward. When it comes to your lives in between your lives here on Earth or another planet, it's always in the context of health. Like, have they found their peace? Are they doing another purpose that contributes to the evolution of their soul and spirit? Are they preparing for another life? Or are they somewhere else learning another lesson? All of that contributes to the greater balance and health of a soul and a spirit. I can see if they have a new job up there, if they're still in their life review. Some people are like in a nursery preparing other souls to come down.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's so cool. I had a client the other day where his dad was up in spirit world, just in this magnificent library, just because all he wanted to do was rest and read.
That's what I would want to do.
Yeah.
Along with some weapons grade Cabernet, of course. Yeah. So you can actually see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Is it fair to assume that a past life regression, if you're the practitioner, is what you call spiritual hypnotherapy?
Yes. Spiritual, transpersonal. Yes.
Okay. Spiritual and transpersonal. Okay.
It means same thing.
So you've done past life regression sessions yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about one of those experiences?
Oh, my most recent experience was I can slip into like a state of hypnosis pretty quickly now after years of this. So it was a hypnotherapy session sort of / channeling where I had met another version of me. Her name was Bina. She was living in ancient Egypt. And the first thing I did, I looked down and I saw my fingernails and they were painted different colors. And I asked her, what did they mean? And she said, well, the fingers represent different levels of spirituality, and the colors of the nails represent the tier of which you are in this timeline. And they're of the scarab beetles. I really didn't know much about Egypt at the time, or beetles, or the significance of the colors. But she was telling me about that. She was telling me about how women would pee in a bag of rice to help determine their pregnancy. Just these random, everyday lifestyle things that all happened to be very holistic and spiritual. And she was speaking through me, and I was observing myself from over here, her using my body. And I then got to experience being in her body, where it felt like my energy, but the template she had in that life was much more empowered and confident. And I got to feel what it was like to be me as a more empowered and confident woman. A lot happened. Very cool. It felt very real.
The emotional signature of that experience lends even more credence that it's not your imagination, right?
No. Oh, no.
It's like you were communicating with her in real time and she was giving you answers. It's not like you're watching a tape, right?
No, it was happening. Corbin, the personality I developed in this life, sat over here, and I allowed her to be in my body and speak through my mouth. It was pretty wild.
This is something we've heard a lot when we talk about past lives and in the in-between spaces, that these people, these entities actually do exist on another plane. It's not like you're watching a rerun. You are actually communicating with her. So here's an example. I interviewed a woman a while back who was a student of Dolores Cannon. And she was telling me how Dolores had a conversation with Nostradamus across time. That's just crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy cool. But do you believe, based on your experience, that these people actually, even that version of you, exists on another timeline or another plane or whatever?
Yes, I do. And the spiritual truth that I feel like backs up me saying that is that we know that time isn't real. So everything is happening at the same time.
And I've heard that I don't know how many times.
Yeah. It's a universal law. And so once you start applying these things, what seem like such surreal happenings, much more palatable. They're easier to consume once you start applying these truths and laws. So guys are telling me now that it's a certain level of consciousness that you can tap into to tap into these people who have had such wisdom in another timeline. And if you can tap into that, because we are beings who have the potential to access infinite wisdom and knowledge, it's the consciousness, it's the state of being that allows us to then create the container to receive and channel that information.
Okay, so how far back did your experience in ancient Egypt go? Was this around the time of the pharaohs, or was it maybe before that?
I'm unclear.
Do you have any experiences or memories of the ancient civilizations, or is that not quite clear?
The earliest back I've ever gone on in a regression session has been I was contributing in a bodiless form of the creation of the energy of the earth. So when earth was being prepared to have physical life, there were souls who had a job. They came down as like I was a light being, and we were infusing the earth with life force. We were infusing it with the energy it needed to sustain years and years and years of physical inhabitants.
That's almost like ground zero is what you're talking about. It's going back like millions of years.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of knowledge, tapping into the energies and the timelines and with your abilities, which not everyone has, although I've been told everybody can do it. Do you think this could be, at one point, a new frontier in consciousness and raising consciousness to another level?
Yes, I do. Right now, we're on the precipice. We're in the new paradigm. We just had a bunch of eclipses. We have kind of two pathways. There's more of like a tech and black and white driven path, and there's more of a spiritual path. There's a separation, a distinct separation right now. So people can make the decision of how they want to exist. Are you going to be part of the greater connectedness, or are you going to stay down here in the more techie ones and zeros kinds of life? Right now, we're kind of like little babies. We've forgotten our infiniteness. We've forgotten that we're spiritual beings. We've forgotten that we have access to all of this wisdom. So right now, we're in a phase of remembering and reconnecting.
I was just about to bring that up because I'm about to interview a woman who's going to talk about some of these memories of ancient civilizations. And one of her statements is that we are about to come out of the soul amnesia and remember who we are, which is exactly what you're saying, which is consistent with coming out of one age and moving into another, and almost like a 5D type of experience. I don't like to reference luminaries too much, but Dolores Cannon is amazing. And what she was saying about Atlantis was you could create anything with your mind. So do you think at some point in our Earth existence we'll ever get back to that? Or are we going to get beamed up to planet Zadar or just become light beings, which you just mentioned a few moments ago?
That's such a fun question. And I would actually encourage people. Brian Weiss did a progression study where he asked like a couple hundred people what the outcome of humanity was going to be. And there were two avenues. And I'm not going to spoil it because I think people should go do research on their own.
Don't say it, because once the tape stops, I'm going to ask you exactly what it is, but I get it. One of the principles of this kind of work and this kind of research and all that is that you have to make an effort.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And that's the fun too.
It definitely is. Okay. Before I forget, you mentioned light being, right? You've already experienced being a light being. When I think of a light being, I think of angels and star beings. Apparently, they don't like being called aliens because alien means apart, and they apparently do not feel like they're apart from us. So do you have memories of galactic lives, that type of thing?
Yeah. I've definitely had lives on other planets. I know that I am an older soul and I'm back here with a very specific purpose, just like everyone else. Did you know that one of the like telltale signs of someone who's spent a lot of time on other planets is having a lot of freckles? That's a funny way that experience kind of expresses.
I didn't know freckles were a telltale sign, but I'm definitely going to make a note of that, right?
Yeah.
Great. Can you tell us about one of those lives, and if you do remember which planet or which star system it was?
I don't know the specifics of where I was. I only have a very brief experience of a time of another planet. I'd been in regression for about an hour and a half at this point, so I was getting tired. But I remember the freedom I felt of not being in a body and being able to connect from my heart directly with others. Like I really got to see the difference between the density of the material and earth versus the potential of what being in pure energy form is like. And I needed to see and experience and remember that duality, kind of like to give me hope, because being here is hard. Being on earth is difficult.
It is. Whenever anybody talks about, do you want to come back here? I'm thinking, take a look around, see what's going around in the States today. Get me the hell out of here. Are you kidding? But every time I bring that up, someone who is infinitely wiser than me that I'm interviewing for good reason will say, that's a sign that your work here isn't done. You're going to have to come back. I'll just pray next time, please make me cool. Please. This time I want to get all the girls. I want to be a better guitar player, but I still want to be a good person.
Yeah, of course.
It's so great to talk about this type of thing because I think a lot of us need it. We need hope that consciousness does survive, right? We don't really know where it's going to go. Hopefully there's going to be a bull market in consciousness because at the moment it seems like it's sliding back down the slope, which is not good.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, if we look at what's going on right here in the States, why do you suppose that is? Is this a precursor of something really, really good that's coming or not really?
Well, I just want to piggyback off what you just said is a hot topic right now that I just did a podcast today on is people are asking if AI has consciousness.
That's scary.
I know. Well, the thing is that it does, but I think people don't understand what consciousness is fully. When we're talking about consciousness at that level, we're like way down here. So I think that we're on the precipice of something great, but it's not going to be in our lifetime that it will play out. We are still paving the way. Yeah, yeah.
We're going to have to come back.
Johnny, we sure will.
Another thing, speaking about coming back, in the in-between space, I've been told by people who have actually experienced it, not read about it in books, that it's like casting a movie. It's like casting a stage play. And it's amazing. And it's consistent with the Long Island Medium's book. At the very end, she said, life is like an episode of Saturday Night Live. Everybody's got these different characters and costumes, but at the end of the night, everybody hugs and then goes down to the bar for beers. Something like that. Is that what it's like?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. We have to understand that we are in a movie. We are supposed to be the main character and the star of our own movie. That is the challenge. Yes. Yes, we are.
It is a challenge.
It is a challenge because we forget that we're important and that we deserve all of the love just because we exist. The theatrics are astrology. Why do you think we have sun signs and moon signs? We get to pick and choose exactly what we come down with. We, in a sense, pick our spiritual gifts. We pack our karma. We pack our suitcase of what we come down here to do. We pick all of our tools. We pick our family. And then we come down here and we kick and scream. We kick and scream. And that's the movie. I fully believe that this is very much like a movie, like a screenplay.
Very consistent with what everyone that has experienced that space tells me. And another thing which I think is very interesting is that once someone dives into that space, they also learn that some of the people that really trigger them are almost like soulmates, not the romantic kind, but it sounds like that could be a soul contract.
Yes. There are several soul contracts. So we have to remember we're at a school. School is supposed to be difficult, right? But Earth is about balance. The more that we experience the hard things, the equal amount we should receive in like the good things, right? So we have to remember that. Now the people that we come down here with and around, we weave through, there's no such thing as coincidences. We could have people that we have been romantic partners with in past lives, and this life is just a quick interpassing that they're your teacher in this life, and then in next life, you'll be their teacher. So there are tons and tons of soul contracts that come down, big and small.
Different characters to play. Sometimes you're going to be the good guy. Sometimes you're going to be the not so good guy or girl, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, you are planning your death and grief training. So since you have that view where you can use your gift to see someone's life start to finish, and even when they cross over, when someone crosses over, and let's say they're in hospice, I've interviewed several people that were not only working in hospice, but they were mediums, basically. And they tell me that there's like a waiting party for that person to cross over, and they take him to what's almost like a celebration. Is that something that you're able to see?
Yeah. The way I see it and have experienced it is when you cross over, there's a moment of collecting your bearings. It is quite subtle, leaving your body into the bodiless. But then you might want to stick around and kind of see what's happening and feeling sad about your loved ones as you disconnect and remember that this isn't real kind of thing. Then you get ushered up into the higher realms where you're greeted with so much love and you're bathed in like the highest frequencies you could ever imagine. And there is a celebration, like a coming home. And you see the people that you think that you've lost. And then from there, you do your life review, typically.
So when I pass, can Prince and David Bowie be playing at my greeting party? Or is that too much to ask?
No, there's no such thing as too much to ask. Of course you can.
That's incredible. All right. You can't blame me for asking, right?
Of course not. No. But I will say that being on Earth isn't all so bad because we don't have like food and sex and music up in spirit world. You experience it in a different way. So when you are doing those earthly joys, like really enjoy them.
Of course. But are you saying that once we're in the spirit world, what we experience as like a parallel is not as good, or is it just as good, if not better?
It's different. It's different because it's not as dense.
As part of your training, the death and grief training, do you talk about when their loved one crosses over that they do get a greeting party, or is that verboten?
Yes, that's part of the training is going through death scenes, examples. I actually pull examples from trainings that I've done. That's all part of it. It all has to do with your health because if someone you know passes away and you do not have the foundation to support a death and the grief, you risk spiraling your life and your health downward. But if you do have that foundation and can understand and experience kind of what happens when they leave the body, you realize that it's not really an ending. It's just a transition. And they are still available.
Okay, good. You just gave me an idea. One of my brothers passed a couple of years ago. And he lived in Santa Barbara, and like whenever I would visit, we would like drink beer on the porch and stuff like that. The last thing I said, instead of crying and being hysterical, I said, "We'll be drinking beer again." And he says, "You know we will." I kid you not, about a month ago, because I've had several dreams about him. We were at a party, and he turns around and he says, "Johnny, we need more beer." Is that a coincidence?
No, of course not. No. Yeah, he's talking to you, and you're picking up the message clearly.
Right. I don't mean to talk too much about my own experiences because it's not about me, it's about you. But at the same time, I want some people to hopefully connect to it and think, okay, so I'm not losing my mind. But I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, the best thing you can do is believe it. Believe it.
The death and grief training, right? That could be a transformative tool to really help people understand that we don't just go in the ground, even though some people are stubborn enough to believe that, but consciousness does survive, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Our soul is infinite. So it comes and goes along with all of our experiences. People who have Alzheimer's, they remember everything as well. You know, it's all there. It's all being processed. And the training is really for people who have experienced a bunch of death and grief. This is also people who haven't experienced any yet and want to prepare.
Yep. I like that. Anything else we should know, at least for tonight?
Oh, gosh. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
It's been great for us, too. Corbin, thanks for joining us tonight. Very, very cool and entertaining as well. In the meantime, how can our listeners find you online?
Great. Yes, my website is corbinchase.health, and you can reach me on Instagram at Spiritual Health Expert.
Excellent. You've been listening to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing. In the meantime, you can find more info on closertovenus.com. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.